there are a few things in particular that drive this process. So whether you want to call it a scar or an adhesion or fibrosis, from an actual physical presentation, they're essentially all the same thing. You're driven by the same process. And the things that drive, let's say, pathophysiological presentation of this material would be
of the tissue formerly known
mechanical,
as fascia.
Would be excessive mechanical strain, excessive or prolonged inflammation. And then, of course, there are local and general factors that drive, over excessive wound healing processes as well. And stress is a huge one too. So people under stress might be at a greater risk for developing, what we would describe as a pathophysiological outcome versus a physiological outcome.
Got it. Okay. So how would you make a differentiation between scar, adhesion, densification? And
so
for people who don't know, densification is a word that the
Steckos,
use. Yeah.
My understanding of adhesion is just a collection of aberrant collagen. It's just collagen that didn't form well as a result of some kind of process gone wrong, that will essentially stick surfaces together or stick things together that shouldn't be stuck together. So we see functional implications, of course, with adhesions. And certainly I know that immobilization is also one of those things that perhaps put us at greater risk of things getting stuck together that shouldn't be stuck together.
Right. And do you mean layers of tissue that should be sliding on one another, or fibers within tissue, or both?
Sure.
Right. Anything that should be sliding?
Anything that should have the ability to, let's say, move independently within an environment that no longer, because we do kind of break it down to these two-dimensional layers, but it is very much a three-dimensional network in there. So the best to my understanding is that, anything that should have the ability to move around inside our body, if it gets adhered to, stuck, or squished in between other things, it's going to have a hard time expanding, lengthening, sliding, moving around in there. And so just to make the distinction between fibrosis and densification, fibrosis is a structural change. So it's a change in the way collagen looks. Instead of normal healthy collagen, we get this roughened, fuzzy collagen fibers that don't function normally and have, let's say, a greater potential to start to stick together with its neighbors. Whereas densification is not a structural change, it's a change in viscosity or a change in the fluid environment. So this is what Stecco talks about, is they focus specifically on hyaluronan, and the molecular configuration of hyaluronan gets changed as a result of overuse or whatever the case may be. So hyaluronan under normal circumstances is a good lubricant that facilitates things being able to slide frictionless. But when its molecular configuration changes and it starts to glom together, it actually works opposite to what it should be doing. It starts to impede sliding rather than facilitate sliding.
Okay, so densification is a viscosity change. Fibrosis is proliferation of collagen. Did I get that right?
Well, it's proliferation, but it's also an actual change in the fibers look, as it were. So it's not just excessive amounts, which it can be that too, but what is being created in ways that it doesn't function normally. So it's aberrant, it's unusual collagen, it's fuzzy instead of smooth,
right,
or smooth-ish.
Right.
So it's more fuzzy, and the way that I've heard it described is it's almost like it works more like Velcro. So instead of these things sliding past each other, you've got these little fuzzy outcroppings that start to get hooked or hung up on one another. That's kind of the way it was described.
Okay.
To me.
So did I get it right that the mechanism for So the mechanism for adhesion and scarring is the same. So excessive strain or inflammation. Is the same true for densification and fibrosis?
I mean, it would appear that with densification, I know with Stecco's work, they look at it more from a perspective of it's the end result of overuse types of situations. Again, when we're talking in terms of the body's ability to repair itself, as far as I understand, it's all the same process. So under the circumstances might be slightly different, but really it's all the same process. And the things that can make that process unusual or pathophysiological rather than physiological, certainly mechanical strain is one of those things that can drive overproduction of the collagen material.
Yep.
Excessive or prolonged inflammation, as I mentioned, stress is another one. With densification, I wonder how it relates to maybe repetitive strain injuries, where the problem is that there's not enough recuperation time between agitations. So the agitation itself may not be overwhelming to the body. The body can, adapt to the demands, but it needs a certain amount of time in between those agitations in order for it to complete a particular process. So my understanding is that there's just not enough time between the agitations to complete a particular process. So I kind of relate it to one of the golden rules of weight training is that you never train the same body part 2 days in a row, because you need to let your body have that rest period so it can complete its process. So the breaking down, building up to happen normally, whereas with overuse syndromes, that's not what's happening. It's just agitation, and not that time to heal itself in between.
Right.
Then
so that's similar to the excessive strain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so